The Denver Broncos are on a mission to reclaim greatness under Sean Payton. Since taking over, Payton has, really brought in this fresh culture to the organization. You can see it in the confidence and boldness radiating from players like Jonathan Cooper. Just before the big matchup against the Chiefs, Cooper voiced some powerful sentiments that really reflect the team's newfound mindset. And it's not just talk. The numbers, the advanced analytics, they're backing up Denver's potential. There are some promising stats on Broncos players that kind of counter those initial doubts, especially around quarterback Bo Nix. Many critics, they question Nix's transition into the NFL, but the numbers, they're starting to tell a different story. In this video, we're going to break down what Cooper claimed and why the Broncos, they're primed to, just stun the Chiefs, and how this shift could totally redefine their whole season. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel. Jonathan Cooper, he's making some real waves as he charges toward becoming the first Denver edge rusher to hit 10-plus sacks in a season since Bradley Chubb. This kind of performance, it usually lands players these massive contracts in free agency. But Cooper, he chose a different path. He opted to take a hometown discount instead of testing the open market. When they asked him why he didn't hold out for that big payday, Cooper's response, it was all about loyalty and belief in the team's potential, He's confident. The fans haven't even seen the peak of what this Broncos defense can do. Despite last week's setback, what he called running into a buzzsaw, he's certain they're ready to just rebound stronger this week. His choice to stay, it's not just about the money. It's about being part of something bigger, a team with unfinished business and a defense that's just getting started. So let's keep an eye on Cooper this Sunday as he aims to lead this team to new heights and prove this Broncos defense is more than ready to take on the league's elite. If Payton was truly an authoritarian, he wouldn't attract this kind of loyalty, Instead, we're seeing players like Cooper, Saren, and Quinn Miners, they're willingly locking into deals early. It's demonstrating their faith in Payton's leadership and the team's direction. And here we are heading into this crucial game that could redefine Denver's whole season. Looking at the current standings, if the season ended today, the Broncos would sit in that 7th playoff seed, setting them up for a showdown with the Buffalo Bills. This prospect, it brings a sense of optimism. After all, Denver's already proven they can pull off an upset in Buffalo, even with a weaker team. But there's still a long way to go, and the Broncos, they've got a tough stretch ahead. The Ravens last week and the Chiefs this week. Now, here's where things get interesting. A win against the Chiefs. That would give Denver a 72% chance of making the playoffs. Even with a loss, their chances, they wouldn't plummet as much as you might think, only dropping to 42%, especially if both the Bengals and Colts lose. Why? Because the teams right on their heels, the Bengals and the Colts, they've got some serious obstacles ahead. The Bengals, they've got to face the Ravens, and a loss there would further set them back. Meanwhile, the Colts, they've got to travel to Buffalo with a backup quarterback, a matchup that doesn't look too promising for them. This scenario, it just underscores how critical these next few games are, not only for Denver's standing, but also in shaping the whole playoff landscape. A victory over the Chiefs, that would be monumental, boosting the Broncos' position and bringing them one step closer to a postseason berth. According to the Athletics playoff predictor, the path to the postseason for the Broncos, it's fairly straightforward. If they beat the Raiders, Browns, Bengals, and Colts, a playoff spot, it's almost guaranteed. That means with 9 wins, the Broncos could secure a place even if they don't win this week or the following game against the Falcons. But there's more reason for optimism. Recent matchups with the Chiefs, they've shown Denver can go toe-to-toe with the reigning champs. Take the last 2 games, for example. Patrick Mahomes, he threw 3 interceptions to Denver's defensive backs and safeties, showing just how disruptive this Broncos defense can be. Though they lost one of those games on a Thursday night, they claimed a decisive victory at home, making an impression not just on the field, but off it as well. That night, as the story goes, Sean Payton, he couldn't even celebrate at a sushi restaurant afterward because he was so focused on the missed opportunities despite a historic 24-9 win. It was the first time in 8 years the Broncos defeated their arch-rival Chiefs, taking down Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in the process. Instead of celebrating Payton, he saw it as just another step forward, understanding that his team had found the Chiefs' weaknesses. Denver's confidence against the Chiefs. This focus and determination, it'll be pivotal as the Broncos push forward, knowing that victories over familiar foes like the Chiefs, they're not only possible but critical to their playoff aspirations. The Broncos, they believe they have an answer for everything the Chiefs might throw at them. Now, this isn't to say Denver is the best team in the league. Kansas City, they remain a powerhouse with a real shot at a three-peat. But when it comes to head-to-head matchups, Denver has shown they can hold their ground and then some. Last season's games, they put this dynamic on full display. Sean Payton's frustration after the Broncos win over the Chiefs when Russell Wilson threw for only 114 yards. It underscored his belief that Denver has more to show. The game they lost, it wasn't much different statistically, as Wilson put up only 95 passing yards. It's clear that Payton has built an offense to exploit Kansas City's weaknesses without needing those explosive passing numbers. Now, with Bo Nix executing Payton's vision, there's a strong sense that Denver's offense, it's better aligned with Payton's strategy. Defensively, Vance Joseph, he brings critical insight into this matchup. Having coached against Mahomes as both head coach and now defensive coordinator, Joseph knows Kansas City's schemes better than most. And with recent roster changes, they favor Denver. Kansas City lost two of their best cornerbacks, including L'Jarius Sneed, who they franchise tagged but couldn't keep due to cap constraints. With a weakened Chiefs secondary, Denver has a strategic opening to exploit, and they believe their game plan is primed to capitalize on these matchup advantages. This setup, it's not just about the stats. It's about knowing the opponent, having the right players in the right places, and using Payton's vision to just maximize each matchup. As the Broncos prepare to meet the Chiefs again, they do so with confidence in their strategy and players, ready to prove that this isn't just a homer take, it's a team set up for success. The Chiefs, they've taken a noticeable hit in their secondary. They lost Pro Bowl cornerback L'Jarius Sneed and another starting cornerback, leaving their defense weaker against the pass. They reportedly eyed Marshawn Lattimore at the trade deadline, but his price tag was too high. This regression in Kansas City's secondary, it presents a favorable matchup for Denver, particularly with the confidence Sean Payton has in his offense to exploit these gaps. Despite their record, the Chiefs, they've had some close calls, including an overtime win against Baker Mayfield's Buccaneers, who played without top targets Godwin and Mike Evans. Meanwhile, Denver, they're in a strong position health-wise, with reports that Josh Reynolds may even make it back for this matchup. Compared to Kansas City's banged-up roster, Denver's healthier lineup, it gives them a potential edge. The Broncos, they see these factors lining up to create a perfect storm, making this a prime opportunity to knock the Chiefs off their pedestal and prove they're a playoff-caliber team. This matchup against the Chiefs, it just feels like the perfect storm for the Broncos. While a healthy duo of Godwin and Evans may outshine Denver's receivers, the Chiefs barely edged out Tampa Bay in their recent face-off. And let's not forget, the Broncos, they dominated that same Tampa team. And when it comes to Denver's passing game, Bo Nix, he's shut down his critics. Labeled a checkdown king heading into the season, Nix has proven he's anything but. He ranks 5th in the league in deep passes, with over 15% of his throws going long, primarily to the left side. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes, supposedly this deep ball specialist, he ranks far lower at 36th. This stat, it shows that Nix is taking risks downfield, proving doubters wrong, and bringing a new threat to Denver's offense. On defense, Vance Joseph, he's got a game plan to counter Mahomes. Patrick Surtain, he'll be on lockdown duty, likely taking on DeAndre Hopkins, while the Broncos will double-team Travis Kelce with P.J. Locke back in the rotation, possibly adding a bump at the line from Quan Alexander and Cody Barton. The aim is clear. Make every yard hard-earned for Kansas City's stars, leaving them worn out by game end. So, this is my analysis on the upcoming game. What do you think about the next match? Let me know in the comments. Rational argue and support, this is what makes the talk healthy. What's your final score prediction? The road to the playoffs starts here, Broncos fans, and be ready to make it happen. Ball don't lie.